almost. I'll call upon Shri R.I. Singh, the person from the organization which has invited us, to give you a brief view of his own about the organization and the issues which confront us today. Shri R.I. Singh.
ਅੱਜ ਦੀ ਵਿਚਾਰ ਵਟਾਂਦਰਾ ਗੋਸ਼ਟੀ ਦੇ ਮੁੱਖ ਮਹਿਮਾਨ ਸਤਿਕਾਰਯੋਗ ਜਸਟਿਸ ਲਿਬਰਾਨ ਜੀ, ਸਟੇਜ ਤੇ ਵਿਰਾਜਮਾਨ ਬੁਲਾਰੇ, ਮੇਰੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਹੀ ਸਤਿਕਾਰਯੋਗ ਵੀਰੋ ਤੇ ਭੈਣੋ, ਮੈਂ ਆਪ ਸਭ ਨੂੰ ਕੀਰਤੀ ਕਿਸਾਨ ਫੋਰਮ ਦੇ ਬਿਹਾਫ ਤੇ ਜੀ ਆਇਆਂ ਆਖਦਾ ਹਾਂ, ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਸਵਾਗਤ ਕਰਦਾ ਹਾਂ। ਨਾਲ ਹੀ ਇੱਕ ਬੇਨਤੀ ਕਰਦਾ ਹਾਂ ਕਿ ਕੋਵਿਡ ਦੇ ਦਿਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਾਈਂਡਲੀ ਜੋ ਸਟੈਂਡਰਡ SOPs ਨੇ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਅਬਜ਼ਰਵ ਕਰੋ, ਮਾਸਕ ਆਪਣੇ ਪਾ ਕੇ ਰੱਖੋ। ਜਗ੍ਹਾ ਬਹੁਤ ਹੈ, ਉੱਪਰ ਗੈਲਰੀ ਵੀ ਹੈ, ਪਿੱਛੇ ਇੱਕ ਲੌਬੀ ਵੀ ਹੈ, ਬਾਹਰ ਵੀ ਇੱਕ ਲਾਈਵ ਸਕਰੀਨ ਜੋ ਹੈ ਟੈਲੀਕਾਸਟ ਤੇ ਲੱਗੀ ਹੋਈ ਹੈ। ਸੋ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਵੀਰ ਭੈਣ ਉੱਪਰ ਜਾ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਨ, I would request them, please make yourself comfortable wherever you like, so that we observe the formalities and procedures of COVID. कीर्ति किसान फोरम एक इनफॉर्मल संस्था है जिसका संगठन पंजाब और कुछ हरियाणे दे रिटायर्ड सिविल सर्वेंट्स, पुलिस ऑफिसर्स ਤੇ ਇਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਮਿਲਟਰੀ ਆਫਿਸਰਸ ਵੀ ਸ਼ਾਮਿਲ ਹਨ। ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਮਿਲ ਕੇ ਔਰ ਕੁਝ ਉੱਗੇ ਸੱਜਣ ਵੀ ਇਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਬਾਅਦ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸ਼ਾਮਿਲ ਹੋ ਗਏ ਹਨ, ਮਿਲਾ ਕੇ ਇਸ ਸੰਸਥਾ ਦਾ ਸੰਗਠਨ ਕੀਤਾ ਹੈ। ਇੱਕ ਬਿਲਕੁਲ ਹੀ ਨਾਨ ਪੋਲੀਟੀਕਲ ਇਨਫਾਰਮਲ ਆਰਗੇਨਾਈਜੇਸ਼ਨ ਹੈ। ਅਸੀਂ ਨਾ ਕਿਸੇ ਪੋਲੀਟੀਕਲ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਨੂੰ ਸਪੋਰਟ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਨਾ ਹੀ ਕਿਸੇ ਪੋਲੀਟੀਕਲ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਨੂੰ ਅਪੋਜ਼ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ। ਐਜ਼ ਏ ਫੋਰਮ, ਇੰਡੀਵਿਜੂਅਲਸ may have their affiliations. ਅਸੀਂ ਸਿਰਫ ਇਸ਼ੂ ਬੇਸਡ ਜੋ ਇਸ਼ੂਜ਼, ਪਾਲਿਸੀਜ਼, ਡਿਸੀਜ਼ਨਸ ਸਮਾਜ ਨੂੰ ਇੰਪੈਕਟ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਨ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਉੱਤੇ ਵਿਚਾਰ ਵਟਾਂਦਰਾ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਔਰ ਡਿਸਕਸ਼ਨ, ਡਿਬੇਟ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਬਿਲੀਵ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਇਸ ਡਿਸਕਸ਼ਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ ਹੀ ਇੱਕ ਸਿੰਥੇਸਿਸ ਨਿਕਲਣਾ ਹੈ, ਇੱਕ ਸੋਲਿਊਸ਼ਨ ਨਿਕਲਣਾ ਹੈ ਹਰ ਪ੍ਰੋਬਲਮ ਦਾ। ਅਸੀਂ ਇਸ ਚੀਜ਼ ਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ we are fully conscious that agriculture needs reforms. ਔਰ ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਵੱਡੀ ਰਿਫਾਰਮ ਦੀ ਲੋੜ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਕਿਸਾਨ ਅੱਜ ਪਾਵਰਟੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਲਿਥਿਆ ਹੋਇਆ ਹੈ, ਫਸਿਆ ਹੋਇਆ ਹੈ। He is stuck in poverty. ਹਿੰਦੁਸਤਾਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ 52% ਤੋਂ ਵੱਧ ਪਾਪੂਲੇਸ਼ਨ ਐਗਰੀਕਲਚਰ ਤੇ ਨਿਰਭਰ ਹੈ, but the contribution of agriculture to GDP is only about 16 or 17%. The consequence is that average farmhold family's income at the national level is only 6,500 rupees per family per month. पंजाब थोड़ी जी बेटर है, हरियाणा च अच्छी है, थोड़ी जी 18,000 के करीब है पंजाब। What is the consequence of this? That farmers are in extreme poverty today, and that is the reason why they are committing suicides. Figures are available, official figures, data are available only for 2019. And I like to share with you that the Crime Bureau's data is that in 2019, over 10,200 farm-related people committed suicide. It comes to, sir, 28 farmers per day throughout the year. This is the situation in which the farmers today find. So the reform needed is to shift this bulk of population, skill them, transform them into gainful employment. We have very learned economists. They will dwell on the issues. But some of the other issues which face agriculture today is diversification of the crop, ecological issues like subsoil water is depleting, the soil health is depleting, there is toxicity in the food because of excessive use of fertilizers, etc., and so on and so forth. But do these reforms address any of these issues? That is the question. Because these reforms have been bailed out, they have been marketed as panacea for agricultural reforms. But I submit to you for your decision, the decision is yours, I am only putting facts before you, that these acts do not deal with any of those issues. Rather, what they do they deal with? They deal with contract farming, they deal with marketing, they deal with holding. What the state has done, it has taken the first step to withdraw from the agriculture field. Leave it to the market forces, to the economic forces to deal with the farmers and address these issues. The consequences, as Cheema Sahab has very rightly pointed out, are going to be disastrous. We are not against privatization. Private sector has a role to play in the economy. It has to join hands with the government to carry the nation forward. After all, ਜਿਹੜੇ ਜ਼ਿਮੀਦਾਰ ਸਾਡੇ ਟਰੈਕਟਰ ਚਲਾਉਂਦੇ ਨੇ ਜਾਂ ਫਰਟੀਲਾਈਜ਼ਰ ਪਾਉਂਦੇ ਨੇ ਜਾਂ ਐਗਰੋ ਕੈਮੀਕਲਸ ਪਾਉਂਦੇ ਨੇਗੇ, ਇਹ ਵੀ ਤੇ ਪ੍ਰਾਈਵੇਟ ਸੈਕਟਰ ਨਹੀਂ ਬਣਾਇਆ ਹੈ. But we are against monopolies. We are against withdrawal of the state from the field. We want competition. But these laws, unfortunately, will create monopolies, and they create a totally uneven field, uncompetitive field. I'll explain how. And that is why I say these laws are neither in the favor of farmer, nor in the favor of the consumer, nor they are in the favor of the states like Punjab and Haryana. They'll destroy the economy of these states. How they create monopoly? The policymakers say we have not dismantled the APMC regime, Mandi system. But under law, they have taken away the power of the state governments, and it involves federal state issues, to impose any tax, fee, cess. So you have an uncompetitive market where private sector is untaxed, is unregulated. There is no requirement of license or anything except your PAN card. On the other hand, in the APMC mandis, which are well regulated, and where all transactions take place by open auction, you have nearly 6% cess and fee. And this is also a false statement that they are abolishing the middleman. Aartiya is not a middleman. Aartiya is a licensed facilitator. And the distributional efficiency of the marketing system is determined by rules and regulations. The government controls it. But in the new private regime, they are creating new middlemen, not facilitators, but the expression used is aggregator. You read the law, you will find out. So, what these laws will do ultimately, the APMC system will crumble because there is a price differential, there is a tax differential, and slowly monopolies will emerge. And this is against the state government. I'll tell you why. Because states like Punjab get about 4,000 crore rupees per annum from market fee and rural development cess. States like Haryana get about 2,000 crores per annum. 12,000 ਪਿੰਡ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਦੇ 61 ਕੇ 64,000 ਦੇ ਕਰੀਬ ਵਿਲੇਜ ਲਈ ਕਰੋੜਸ ਮੰਡੀਆਂ ਇਹ ਸਾਰੀਆਂ ਇਸ ਪੈਸੇ ਨਾਲ ਬਣੀਆਂ ਨੇ. GST ਲੱਗਣ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ the taxation power of the state government has been merged into GST. You can't impose taxes. These laws do not provide any alternative source of revenue to the state governments. What will be the consequence? If you impose taxes, it will be again on consumers. And then, in any case, there is no power to impose. As I told you, the act takes away the power. And these are against the consumers because these will create monopolies. deregulation. I'd like to give you one example. Once private sale purchase through contract comes in, it will be deregulated. There will be no control. And see what is happening today to the deregulated prices of the diesel and petrol or LPG. Because the market economy will determine, the money will determine the price. What you produce, who produces, where, and where it is sold, and at what price. So those of us who are consumers have a reason to fear that ultimately, over a period of time, slowly, they will be exploited. Now, we have tried to think why the government has brought these laws. If this is what it is, why these laws? Number of reasons have been given. One is WTO. The other was that neoliberal economists, they believe in money markets. People like Friedman, Milton Friedman, they advocate that bring these reforms when the society, when the nation is under stress. When you have a war going on as we had in China, or when you have a COVID-like pandemic, push these reforms through so that these come as a sudden surprise and people accept it because they are already under crisis. And that is precisely what happened with these three laws. They were first brought in as what I call executive law, or what the lawyers call ordinance, and then pushed through the parliament by voice vote without adequate debate. And let me tell you, Interstate Council, which is the body created to deliberate on federal issues which impact, has not discussed this issue. There is no formal recommendation from Niti Aayog on this. Only 6 or 7 states, a committee was formed to complete the ritual of consultation, and most of those were from the ruling party states, and the laws were pushed in. I tried to contact some of my colleagues who are still in service to find out what is the reason, what is the rationale, why are we pushing it? And one reason given to me was that FCI is under great stress, government cannot spare money, and that is why it is happening. But I want to tell you that if FCI is under stress, it is not because of the MSP or because of the procurement or farmers. For 2021-22, the projected figures are that the economic cost to FCI for wheat will be 29.94 rupees per kg, which means 30 rupees. But farmer will get only 19 rupees. So it is the inefficiency of the system, the interest cost, the establishment cost, and all this which adds on to it. And furthermore, touching on the consumer, already Niti Aayog has circulated a paper at the end of February to reduce the proportion of people covered under the National Food Security Act. As you know, people covered under that act, and almost 70-80 crore people are there, they get wheat and rice 5 kgs at 2 or 3 rupees a kg. It is this subsidization which affects the economy of the government, not the MSP, because MSP in any case is determined by an independent commission on the cost of inputs. If diesel is costly, if fertilizers are costly, if chemicals are costly, MSP has to be high. Labor, which is the only thing which farmer offers, is the cheapest in India. So therefore, this is a lie that MSP cannot be sustained. And I also want to tell you, they say that the stock position is very good. We have 2.5 or 3 times the buffer stock needed for national security. Why is so? It is not that we have food in plenty. Reason is the people of India do not have the purchasing power. Again, figures are available only for 2019, and I like to tell you that average per capita per person availability of wheat was only 178 grams in India, and of rice 189 grams. If the food is surplus, it is because you don't have the capacity to buy. So once this paper of Niti Aayog takes shape, they want to reduce the percentage of population covered under the National Security Food Act in the urban areas, in the rural areas from 75% to 60%, in the urban areas from 60 to 40%. What will be the consequence? Government, of course, may save projected 47,000 crores, but it will exclude 35% of the population of the poor people from the Food Security Act. As I will leave the field to the economists, but touch only one thing, that an administration which thrives on conflict is a bad government. What has happened in this agitation? On one hand, there is a unification of people, as Chima Saab very rightly pointed out. You have women, you have men, you have farmers, you have labor, you have ex-Fauji, you have civil servants, you have ਗੁਰਦੁਆਰੇ ਦੇ ਭਾਈ ਜੀ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਲੰਗਰ ਚਲਾ ਰਹੇ ਨੇਗੇ, you have ਮੰਦਰਾਂ ਦੇ ਪੁਜਾਰੀ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਲੰਗਰ ਲਾ ਰਹੇ ਨੇਗੇ, you have artists, all kind of segments, irrespective of caste, religion, region, have come together on one forum. On the other hand, an attempt has been made, and thank God it has failed, to project them as anti-national, as Tukde gang, as terrorists. A divisive society, no matter how good the reforms are, presuming they are good, they are not, but presuming they are good, no society can ever progress if it is pluralized, if it is divided, if it is segmented. So let us debate today, form your own opinions. The purpose of our organizing the seminar was to throw up the ideas, the issues which face us today, and then hope that the dialogue between farmers and the government, various stakeholders will continue, and we pray that this issue is resolved amicably at the earliest. Thank you very much.